Welcome back. The time is now 11:11, and we are back in our budget workshop where no action will be taken at all during these 5 days. At this time, we will go to Mr. Jim with IT. Page 29. 210 Information Technology.
I've got a summary of the IT projects and such like that, where we are with stuff.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Server.
And I apologize I didn't get this to you earlier, so you'd be able to read it ahead of time.
That's okay. Okay, we have one budgeted position. Any personnel questions, council?
Jim, do you service the Fremont Library as well?
Yes.
IT?
Yes.
And is your cost, is there some cost from them in here? I mean, do they help pay for
The way I understand it is Fremont pays, or maybe it's the county over there, somebody puts $50,000 towards the yearly cost of that, of running that library, and then we handle the rest of it, or the library does, but I don't know for sure.
But for the IT position, they don't help with the
It's
salary?
not itemized. I think that's what we asked for. We can start itemizing what we pay, what we contribute, so we can do a cost analysis on what City of Alice is or what Jim Wells County is contributing to the actuality of what we are contributing, I guess.
Right, because I guess we have supplied the computers over there and printers and, of course, the internet cost. Internet and phone, I don't remember exactly how much that is. It started at about $150 a month, I think. It's probably closer to $200 at this point. But as far as support from IT, since I haven't had a second person, I haven't had a chance to go repair anything over there. They have a machine or two down and a printer that's got some problems. I'm hoping sometime in the next couple of weeks or so to be able to run over there with Yolanda and actually address some of that stuff.
So how much, in the past, percentage-wise, do you spend servicing their computers or internet system?
It's been pretty minimal. When I had a second person, I would send him over there probably once a month, and he'd spend, half a day there or so and correct some problems, and that's usually what it averaged.
Okay. Any other questions, council, on personnel?
I will say that I am behind on things because there's only one person in the department, and so it's hard for me to handle the different items and the different things that pop up and keep everything, keep all the balls in the air. I'm trying to juggle them, but sometimes I drop one. So at some point, I really would like to expand the personnel department to be able to handle all of this different stuff.
Have we looked at perhaps contracting or sourcing someone to help you?
Yes,
or what the
yes.
cost would be, or something like that?
And we have the people out of Corpus who set up our email server. They've given us a cost on that, and it was a bit more than we wanted to spend. So we're kind of doing it on as-needed basis. Like if I need some help with something, I don't have maybe the technical expertise to do something, then I'll call them and get them involved. or if I'm unavailable and something major happens, then they know the system well enough to be able to come in and help do that sort of thing. And I think Diana is looking at talking to the school, maybe to get some work studies or interns or something to get some free help.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the stuff is, a lot of the everyday stuff, I could maybe shift off to them and be able to handle some of the bigger problems and the long range stuff.
And we may look to Coastal Bend College as well. I know they offer some of those classes in information technology, and, you know, perhaps we can talk to them about having internships or something. I don't know, I mean, just
Right.
ideas to think about.
I'll take just about any help I can find.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Any other personnel services questions, council? No? Okay, materials and supplies.
And I apologize, I haven't really looked through this too much myself.
5240 for repair and maintenance supplies, I mean, that's kind of minimal for if you're repairing computers and,
A lot of times he'll expense it out to the department.
To the department.
Okay.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
makes
That
sense.
makes sense. Mhm.
okay. I was
Yeah.
like, wow.
I know, I mean, one hard drive goes out, then that's the whole budget.
Yeah. Any other questions, materials and supplies?
Operating subscriptions.
Okay, other purchase property? Travel expenses, where do you go, Jim?
There is a yearly conference for the IT professionals in the state of Texas, Texas Association of Governmental IT Managers. And so last year was in Galveston. I don't know where it is this coming year. But the thing is, I go there, listen to the different presentations, network with my peers, and find the best solutions. And we always end up saving money in the long run
Absolutely.
based on
Okay.
attending those.
What about when you travel to is Fremont the only library you service, or is there other places?
Yes, no, that's the only library. Now, there is some mileage in town when I'm servicing.
Is that
It's,
in,
it's, I'm not sure where that's.
where would that be? In the
We'd
travel?
have to check.
In the travel? Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of been on an as-needed basis. We found that to be cheaper than trying to get a different vehicle for me and stuff.
Do you ever go to Orange Grove Library?
No, I've never been.
Okay, good.
No, they handle all their stuff.
I think the school services.
I think so,
I say
right?
good, don't go.
Right, yeah. I think they handle all that on
Okay.
their end.
That's it. I think you've got
Very
the
good.
school helping out with that.
Okay. Okay, any other questions on that? Okay, professional and technical? Any questions on that? Okay,
And like I mentioned before, sometimes something will pop up that I'll need some assistance, and that's probably where that will end up going. I see there's nothing actually in technical service there,
Yes,
but
I was going to say, where would that go if you had to get assistance? You need to re-look at that, or?
well, I just look to finance when I need assistance.
I guess it depends. I mean, if it's contract, we could, like a temp, oh, yeah, I guess. Or if it's just a service, yeah.
I mean, he does make an argument for when, if he's gone. I know we haven't had access to our emails on our cell phones. And, you know, it'd be nice to have had those up and running.
Yeah, me being the only resource,
Yes,
it's kind of
yeah.
difficult sometimes.
If we
yeah.
have to, so we probably need to revisit this one. Ladies?
They're very
got
creative.
some suggestions?
They always come through.
They always come through.
okay. All right, on to the next. Materials and supplies.
Yeah, did we-
Subscription went up
what is that for, Jim?
to 13,000 requested,
Those,
292.
that's for the subscriptions for software and maintenance on servers and such like that.
Do you want me to call out some of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's music licensing fees, the SCAP, broadcast music, deep freeze
Yeah.
And then,
Barracuda is the spam filter box and also the backup box. The deep freeze is actually library software. It protects those computers from being altered.
double horn, which is, I guess, the gateway back up to the cloud.
Hmm.
And then endpoint protection.
That's the antivirus.
Those are most of them. Some of them are pretty large. Cost though. It doesn't sound like too.
And we need all of them? Or they all do different things?
Right, yes, yes.
Because sometimes you tend to buy one and it does, another one does the same thing. I know personally.
Right, yeah, no, I look at that, and if there is something I don't duplicate anything, so.
Okay. Just checking, Jim. All right. Council, any other questions? Materials and supplies? Okay. Other state of the city, what is that? Down at the bottom.
Yeah, I know you haven't had time to really digest this, but you
I
want to
know, I
discuss
wanted
any?
to discuss some of this. Does that fall under professional and technical, perhaps, or capital outlay?
It's more like capital stuff, like the server replacement, the
Yeah.
infrastructure, the desktops, the phone system.
The server replacement, you replace municipal court and utility billing servers by recreating them as virtual servers. What does that mean? Virtual servers.
We have VMware, which is virtual server operating system. About 3 years ago, we got a couple of servers, connected those up with storage and all that stuff. And so on that, instead of each server being a physical server, like our email server was a separate server, when we went to the new one, we were able to create a virtual server on these boxes and create some other virtual servers. Like when municipal court server died and was down for a week and I couldn't get it repaired, we were able to create that as a virtual server on these boxes and get it installed that way. And then when the utility billing, when we had to do the update there, and it turns out we needed a new server, which was kind of a surprise to us. We didn't think, they were first telling us we didn't have to. But I was able to create one on that box and make a new server and go from server 2008 to server 2012, I think it was. So that was an upgrade, and that was great. And virtual servers are easier to maintain, easier to back up, easier to transfer to another device if something goes wrong. So you're not dependent on each server having its own hardware and such.
Individually, yeah.
And the next step from that would be in the cloud. That's what Amazon Web Services does. You put your servers up in the cloud. We're not ready to do that. We don't have a good enough connection to do that and stuff. So that's what we want to do. What I have now is at the end of life, or getting close to that. And so this server project will replace that with a box. We'll be able to move those virtual servers to have room to add a couple of more, because there's a couple of more that are timed out. They're server 2003. They're not supported anymore. They're domain controllers and also some things for PD. So I'm going to move those over there too as part of this.
Okay.
Jim, this state of the city,
Mm-hmm.
what is that? Not in your page, no.
25,
25.
budget.
It's coded as just 25.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that the
was just,
total?
that's the mistake. It should be on 25.
Okay. So this doesn't go here?
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't go there.
It was,
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It should be on 011.
That's just the total, but what she's saying is that number 25, that description for it is not the
For
description for this fund.
Department.
Right.
Oh.
Right, okay.
This department.
So you mentioned on your, we're still on the server replacement. You said that 2 servers are critically due for replacement. Is this in the
Right.
budget, or can you tell us a little bit about your
well, that's,
concern?
they are in the budget in that they're the server replacement as part of this.
Was part of the
Yeah.
65 that
Right.
was revised?
Right. Instead of buying individual servers and replacing those that way, we'll make them part of this virtual server environment and
Okay.
add them to that.
So that's part of the 65 that was revised?
Yes.
Those other additional 2 servers
Right, right,
Okay.
replace those two.
About, is there anything else you wanted to mention in the server replacement?
In the sewer line.
I'm sorry. I
No, that covers it.
read that earlier and I thought it said sewer and I was like,
In the
is
sewer
there
line.
anything else in the server replacement you want to mention?
No, that
before
should-
we move on?
that should handle that,
What
yeah.
about your aging infrastructure? What are we talking about?
Well, the network switches and stuff that we were put in like 12 years ago when we did the phone system and all. So they're outdated. They need to be replaced. They're slower than what they should be. They're not really handling the load
ladies.
that they should. But we really don't have the money to replace them right now. So as they fail, we're going to replace them. But at some point, we need to refresh all of them, and that's why
So you're saying within 1 to 2 years, we need to start? Do we have a technology fund set aside to, have we ever
I think so.
considered a technology fund to set aside for some of these? We know they're going to happen, we need to start.
like a sinking fund or something, like your roof or something, yeah.
I mean, we need to start putting some monies aside for these big issues that are going to be happening within the next year or two.
In the past, I've had some projects that needed to be done. Every year I'd come and bring them before the city manager, and he always thought of something else to spend the money on. So no, we never have had that.
Yeah, okay, so we need to, because I'm seeing here within the next year or two, between 60 to 100,000 because of our aging infrastructure.
Go ahead, Mr. Ramos. Did you want to say something?
No, yeah, no, Jim and I were bouncing some ideas earlier on
Okay.
how we could probably save some money and help his department out too. But we'll look into it a little bit further.
Okay, great.
Some additional funding, and that would, hopefully we can utilize that to expand on some of his network.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you know of any grants out there for IT
Barbara's been
technology?
looking for us, and the only thing she's found is at the library, the E-rate stuff for the connection and stuff,
Yeah, I was just curious.
the internet connection.
That's the one I was talking about. If we could utilize the E-rate at the library and then use that for some of the internet connections around, that'll save us on our, some of the expenses.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about the desktops and scheduled replacement plan here.
Well, we haven't really had a scheduled replacement plan. I mean, as things time out, like the XP boxes that we had to replace because we were going to a different version of Springbrook back 2 years ago or whatever. And at the PD as well, they were no longer allowed to have XP. We had to replace some desktops, but we really need to get on a schedule where we can replace every 4 or 5 years, replace them. So if we did 20% a year, then that would be a 5-year plan, and that's probably what the majority of municipalities use, either a 4 or 5-year plan to replace those.
So you guys will talk about creating some kind of plan to start looking at addressing these.
Yes.
Something like that it would come out of the individual departments though, right? Like IT improvements and stuff like that?
Right. We can expand some of it to the individual departments. From his
Correct.
budget, he shouldn't have
Right.
too much.
So we'd have to rework other departments and,
There's some in utility billing that I would like to discuss. I don't know if we've talked about it, but some of the automated meter reading or drive-by mobile solution,
correct.
and how we could piggyback off of them. So
Check something real quick.
You wanted to talk about the internet and phone lines? Remember, a lot of the other departments are
Yeah, but
going into
that's the,
cost savings or something?
that's that contract that they're gonna look at. So we're already.
G-Tech?
Mm-hmm.
We're still, phone system Channel 5, I don't know if y'all want to visit any of that. Just-
I already read it. It's pretty much what we know that we need. We just don't have money.
I think there was a little audio problem, but not on the recorded. It should be fine on Channel 5 and on the recorded, but it wasn't playing in here.
Oh,
Now I hear myself.
The Channel 5 audio visual, that's our cable channel.
Yes.
How much do we utilize that? I mean, compared to other cities, I've seen they really put out information on their cable channels.
Uh-huh.
They have other things that they put on there, events that are happening. Are we?
We'd like to do that. I mean, but I've just been hamstrung just as a single person
But
trying to do this.
but is it something that I know we don't, staffing issue, but is it
Uh-huh.
something that's capable of being put on a cable channel? I mean,
Yes,
do we have
right.
parameters, restrictions, that kind of thing of what we can put on this
Well,
cable?
we just, of course, have to own or be licensed to put something on there, like Texas Parks and Wildlife. We pay, I think, $50 a year, and we get all their videos. And so I used to play those on there as well, alternating with council meetings and with announcements. With the announcements, we put them on a PowerPoint slide, and we're able to throw them up there as a slideshow and do that. That's with our current system, which is maybe 8 or 9 years old, something like that. But these PEG funds, Public Educational Grant or some, or government or whatever, so that's a percentage of the franchise fee goes to that, and it can only be used for the educational channel for recording equipment and things like that related to that. So that's what we want to do, use to replace this equipment in here and get some more cameras and get a better signal and a better system to be able to handle that. And there's, I forget how much money in there, over 150,000 in there right now, that it can only be used for that, and it should be used.
From the franchise fees?
Yes,
And are we utilizing that monies for this?
piece by piece, but like this new TV I put in there is from that, and some other little pieces, but the big piece is going to be over 50,000, and so we need to go out for bid. And because we can't, the people we used before are not on state contracts, so we can't really just go with them. So I'm trying to get that together, get the information together so we can try to make a decision and get something going, because it's going to be a few months before it would even be installed and such.
And I think you and I have discussed also perhaps some of the citizens here don't have Spectrum or Channel 5. Is there
Right.
an alternate way that we can,
Right. Well, right now we're putting them on YouTube
right,
at the conclusion, and the other option is if we add, I think about a couple of thousand a year to our website,
okay,
we can put the videos on there, and they'll be able to easier access them there, perhaps.
$1,000 a year?
I think it's a 2,000 for
$2,000?
what we need to handle those.
And they can just go into our city website and watch
Right.
them there?
And click on them there, and they'll be listed by the meeting. And
I've seen other cities have it like that.
yeah, and you can incorporate the agenda in that as well, I believe.
Oh, okay. And did we put any monies in here for that?
We have not put that 2,000. And on the website, we're paying, I think, 4,800 annually, or that was this last payment. And so we could add to that. It was about 9,600 before we redid it. I found another vendor. I was going to switch, and then our current vendor said, wait, we'll give you that upgrade. We'll cut the price down to what theirs was and stuff like that. So we're very happy with that.
Can we?
It's
maybe-
okay with me.
We just need to find the money.
Right.
But that's the issue.
Can that be used as part of the franchise fees that we get?
No?
No?
I think there was
That might be
a recurring
A
cost
city
or like
attorney
a,
question. I don't
a
know, 'cause
city
you have to
attorney
look
question?
at
The franchise fee agreement?
Well,
Or
the
what?
wording on what you can use those,
Right,
that.
the franchise fees.
I'm thinking the subscription-based stuff is not allowed under that, but we probably need to double check with our
Okay.
attorney.
And then the internet and phone lines with G-Tech, I know you're exploring, it looks like it may give us some cost savings.
Yes, we signed an agreement with them, giving them some more tower space, and then they said they would put their connection at all our remote locations and connect them up to where we could talk back here to City Hall, put the phones over it, as well as the data and the internet. And so if we can switch to that, then that would save us probably up to 20,000 annually, because we're spending with Foremost, you remember how much? 5,500 maybe or so a month? A lot of those, probably a third of that is phone lines, but the rest of it is internet lines, and this would eliminate a lot of that internet connection cost. We have one more location for GTEC to install. That's a golf course. They've got to get a bucket truck and get it up high enough, hopefully, to get the signal. And then they're trying to decide on the equipment to use. It'd probably be late September or so before we actually get this thing up and going, maybe a little bit later.
But it's in the works, right?
Yes.
Already in the works.
And then we'll be able to cut off a lot of those expensive Foremost connections, which are just like a T1 over a telephone line type thing. And then we could perhaps add some more internet pipe to be able to do some of the stuff in the cloud we need to do, because we don't really have enough for me to back up to the cloud or anything like that, because we only have a 25 meg line, and we should have more. And that's when we were talking about the library E-rate stuff, to be able to go through that at a much discounted rate.
Mr. Ramos, have you had a chance to review those franchise agreements
I have
that we
not.
have?
I can.
Are you familiar with how they work, and do you know if that includes something called a right-of-way fees? Are you familiar with that? A right-of-way fees?
I am familiar with right-of-way fees, but in what context? are
Is
you
that part
referring
of what's in that franchise agreement, I wonder?
I believe so. It's part of the telecom franchise. We get them and it does state actually right away.
Uh-huh.
They're usually like if Verizon or some of these other companies shall, instead of, I don't want to say the companies, but
Right,
they're
right.
using our right-of-ways. whether it be
To
the
lay their
alleys,
lines or.
Right,
Correct.
whether it be the alleys or any of the infrastructure where,
Does that include our cell towers and things like that?
I don't know.
They do, there are some companies on water towers, and actually they'll be give that revenue to the utility funds since water towers are on the utility side. So there is a line item that actually.
It is.
Water tower rental.
Uh-huh. Okay.
and we do need to revisit that.
I
don't
believe
know,
so.
there's a specific formula, and TML is pretty good about updating that information based on what other cities are doing.
I think last year it went to council, though. The
So
rental.
Y'all
for-
revisited already
We should make sure, but I'm almost positive
Yeah.
I sat at a meeting where that's what they were doing.
on the franchise?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's
That's
pretty
what I'm
current
asking.
then.
Yeah, let's just see if we're current, and that's another source of revenue
Right.
that TML always recommends that we look at,
Right.
aside from increasing fees and fines.
Okay. There's no other questions. Thank you, Mr. Jim.
Welcome.
Anything else you want? Anything else you want to cover, Jim?
Well, I might mention that copiers, we've been very happy with the Xerox copiers that we got installed. We're
saving?
We're saving money annually. We're getting much better performance out of the copiers, especially down in utility billing and over here in Pat's office. She's got a nice big color copier that works a lot better now, too.
Okay.
And they gave us a server with some document management software for it. But the first place we were going to look at doing it was in city clerk's office, because they have so much records and stuff they need to keep, and it'd be so nice if they could pull it up, electronically.
Correct.
They've just been so overworked. We haven't been able to schedule a time to get them talking with the vendor to pick their brains and figure out exactly how we want to set that up. That's on our to-do list, though.
Okay.
And then once we see the copier leases separate from technical, I think that's going to help, because we seem to be spending a lot on leases, like copier leases, but we don't know until we take it out. So,
And the cell phones, I will mention that we're going through, I haven't had a chance to finish this, but I want to go through and identify where they're not being used. And we need to cut some lines, we need to
Yes.
cut plans, and make it
Exactly.
fit better to what our actual
Right.
needs are.
Yeah, let's make
Yeah.
that a priority, since we are looking to work with less monies, so wherever we can cut, let's look at that. And I do
Mhm.
appreciate all the work that you're doing to do that and saving us money.
And I know
as well.
billing had a concern with metering. You might want to get with them, Jim, where we could upgrade metering's phone to get him access to billing. So you might want to ask them about that, because that really made a lot of sense. Because he has a phone that's not compatible with.
It's just a flip phone, I think.
What I was asking Caesar is to see if Acela, they're interested in the mobile app, but I don't know if Acela offers the module
For
for
work orders and things
work
like that.
orders.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the Springbrook side if that's
Right.
part of that or not.
If that's one of their modules, maybe?
Or
They
if
can
we're,
do work orders?
or if we've paid for it. I know there's a module
I'm
for that.
saying, yeah, there's a module. Are we not using it, or is it paid?
Probably don't pay for it, so.
Right, that's why I'm asking, can we look and see if,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just asking them if they offer the mobile app. And it could be on a smartphone, it could be in the little tablets or whatever, but if we can look into that. And I think Caesar was already looking into it as of last week. You
Okay.
might want to follow up with him.
Okay.
But we
will
would
do.
need to upgrade his phone.
Yes.
'Cause
I
his
don't know,
phone
he
wasn't-
doesn't have a smartphone.
Yeah. But that would be one that we would totally want for him.
Yeah. Well, actually, Caesar's is a smartphone, but the other meter readers is not, so that's probably the one
Oh,
we'd have
maybe
to
they
upgrade.
would all need it, right? Yeah.
Well,
They
yes.
would all need
They
it
would all
because they
need it.
would need the work orders sent. So
Mm-hmm.
all of that department.
so it saves money on fuel and time
Time
coming
and-
back to pick up work orders manually. I mean,
So
we're
that
trying to.
that is what we're looking at, council, to upgrade theirs so that we can eliminate the other cost to that department.
Right, yeah. More efficiency.
Efficiency,
Exactly.
exactly. Cost efficiency for
Technology
us.
smart, moving forward in a progressive,
Definitely.
positive way.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
No,
Very
thank you,
good.
Jim. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
You're welcome.
Let's explore putting this on the website.
Okay. Well,
After lunch or?
What?
yeah, because they're still in that meeting. So,
So you want to break lunch or what?
It's a quarter till.
yeah. Because that's all that's left is multi-use.
We can go over 105, Jim.
Which one's that one on?
It's on page 19.
General service.
Oh,
What's this? Oh, yes.
Page 18?
Page 18, 105, general service.
Should we do that? Or wait for Miss Diane on this?
This is ambulance service, property insurance, workers' compensation, cost of the city audit, and the upkeep of City Hall.
I could speak on them, I mean,
Okay.
if
Okay.
y'all want. We can wait.
And
Diana's
there's Miss
up.
Diane.
She's
There she
coming
is.
back.
Okay.
She's coming.
Okay.
Let me make sure.
Okay, I know she might be
Yeah, she
grabbing
might
something.
be doing something else next.
Vanessa, you know what else is lacking? Do you know what else we're lacking?
I think that was probably the last one.
Okay, multi-use in this one.
I believe so.
That's it.
Did you already go over the multi-use already? or
No,
no?
ma'am. I think that's,
Human resources.
Intermission or anything?
he's right there. Let's see. Is she gonna be able to come in? No.
She says we can start, but,
Okay. Okay,
go
Miss
ahead.
Vanessa, you wanna?
She did give me one general statement, which was that the ambulance services is willing to decrease their contract amount by 10%.
Okay.
But we're gonna revisit that.
Oh,
Very
so
good.
we can put that in?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The ambulance service is willing to go down 10%. It's on 105. And this isn't my department, but I just kind of, I can tell you what these
Okay.
costs are for.
So we're at page 19, council, personnel services.
Now, we did have an employee here at the beginning in October. The gentleman was our, I guess, custodian, and he would clean, City Hall. But with the first budget amendment, they did decide that they wanted to move them all into parks and kind of make like a crew, and they would go to each of the different facilities. So that's why you see we had adopted a budget for personnel. And then next year, there is not for salaries. The only thing you will notice is the employees' insurance, the retirees. That is, some of the employees, if they have reached the rule of 90, the city will pay their insurance until they reach the age of, I believe, 65.
Is that the 5141?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
How many do we have in that, do you know?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. Maybe about 10. I can double check though.
That would be a good number to bring back to us.
Yes, I will.
So, does this take into consideration, this is those that have already retired that we're paying? Does it take into consideration any new retirees?
No, I believe this was just based on the current and I think one who had recently retired that I knew was going to be, we were going to cover it.
So this would be one person
Mm-hmm.
at 60,000. Okay. All right. Materials and supplies. What's inventory, hun? What is that? For 10,000.
You might want to check this out. I believe that one, fuel, I thought so.
Inventory 5230,
Mm-hmm. She's gonna double check real quick.
requested. It was revised from 10,000 to 21,000 for this year, and then we're requesting 10. Did something hit this year and then?
Or is that what?
The fuel. And how does that hit? It's another item that,
It washes out.
Okay.
So it may have just been at that moment, yes, like when they pulled that, maybe some of the items hadn't been keyed in yet, or, but that one also is usually just to wash out.
But what is it?
It's fuel.
Fuel?
Mhm.
It's fuel and oil, the bulk oil that they use for the vehicle.
Okay. Operating supplies.
This is one that we do want to split out. A lot of different things get coded into here for all of, like the general fund. Even, sometimes they purchase a table at, for the chamber event, or for the Boys and Girls Club, or different things like that. And that was actually just getting coded to operating. So we are looking to split those up, so it's more easy to know exactly what's going in there. What else goes in there? Postage.
There are change of addresses that we receive back from the post office for utility billing whenever we get returned mail. That's actually gonna move to utility fund. We're gonna move that to their general services instead of
Okay.
keeping it in general fund. Coffee filters, coffee, and then that's for the AWA purchases, but those.
I wash those
Yeah,
out.
they wash out.
Supplies, that would probably go under coffee filters. Coffee goes under office
That'll be
supplies.
catering for.
Catering.
your account. Overnight packages and other postage, so that's what those are.
That's still a lot. 22,000, 23,000?
Well, we pay also for the postage, you know, instead of going to the post office, we have our own postage machine here, and that's for all the AP checks. Each of the departments, they bring their packages and we pay.
We also have the Halo Flight donation.
Oh, yes, there was a $5,000 Halo Flight donation that hit here also.
That would be a separate line item.
Yeah. I guess once we open that up into a real transparent,
Yeah, let's
what
break,
line
let's
items.
see how this breaks out. That is a large sum for operating.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions, council, on materials and supplies? All right. Purchase property services, gas and electricity, that's for City Hall and,
Actually, that is for City Hall and also for the Armory. But we do have a contract, and we do bill them for electricity, gas. The gas is for them. I know that one. And because I give the bill, so they can
Yes.
charge that. So we do have a contract with Del Mar, and they are paying for all utilities.
okay.
So on top of their rent.
But that's not reflected here, that's just what we're budgeting so that we can pay it and then they reimburse us. Okay. Okay,
What about,
there's that copier lease, golly.
There's a few copiers that are just, like there's a third floor copier that everyone can use. I believe there's one on Second also. And I'm not sure which other one. Well, I mentioned third floor. There's just, how many copiers are on
So
there?
those are like the public community.
Kind of like, yes, like
Yeah.
everyone can kind of use them.
what about 5425, building repair and maintenance service, 15,000?
That's for the AC repairs,
The
I
window
know we've
repairs,
had.
I know they had to repair the windows and.
Also, we have some issues also, I think, with our restrooms. It's like
This
it's a
is
very
old
old
building.
Old building
Mhm,
that.
we're gonna encounter
And the
that.
elevator servicing also.
Oh yes,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
an old
Here.
elevator.
Yeah.
Filter service for the AC unit.
From there.
That makes sense, building repair and maintenance for the old building. Okay. Any other questions, council? Okay, other purchase property. And there's her ambulance contract. So they're willing to go down 10%?
That's what she
What
said.
they
Yes,
said?
ma'am.
Very
That's
nice.
what she said.
So we can lower that.
We appreciate that, okay.
The insurance is Is that TML? Okay, I think it's TML, but I want to double check.
The advertising, it's,
What are we advertising?
yeah, what do we advertise here for?
I believe sometimes they do, sometimes they'll have those like magazines that they publish, and sometimes the city will, advertise for like each of their departments, like police, fire, parks, and kind of showcase them. We just put 2,000 just in case, but, we can take that out. That's not a big deal.
What did we spend,
The 10,000?
what was that for?
The 11.5?
For advertising?
For
Yes.
advertising, we went from an adopted budget for this year, 2,000, and we revised it to 10,000.
Oh, 10, on 10.
Was it it's your Corpus Christi 2016 panel gatefold, some sort of advertising?
It's that, it was that huge.
I think it was that book.
The book, what book?
I can get you a
It's
copy of
a,
it.
it's a book and it opens up to like 4 pages and it's pretty much everything.
Oh, is that the one that's sitting up
Yeah,
front?
it's out there.
Where we are like maybe in the last couple of pages?
I think
It's
so.
your last page, which is top dollar page.
That's
That's a lot of money for that.
That printout is expensive.
And for next year, you know, if
We
that's
cut
something
it.
y'all
It's
want, we
obviously
can
not
cut
there.
it.
Yeah.
It is TML. Okay, I just wanted to double
Okay.
check.
Okay, professional technical services. Our attorney, office, official, administrative. What does that account for? 148,000. It's line item 5610.
That one I need help.
Yearly repayment of local tax.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
I'm sorry. We have, there, a few years ago, there was, with the comptrollers, there was a company that I guess, and I don't know exactly, but, what determined it, but, the city owed back money to the comptroller. So what we did is we set up a payment plan so that we didn't have to pay back the huge amount. So every year we budget for a payment back to the comptroller's office.
How big is that payment?
It's about the 148. That's probably the payment.
Is it really?
146,388.
Okay, 146.
46.
How long do we have to do this payment for?
I can check. I have a payback. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
I can check. I have the agreement that we made with the comptroller, and it gives me the amounts for each year, and I can tell you how many.
Do we know what that is, Mr. Ramos?
Vanessa filled me in on it, but, I mean, if you tell them the dollar amount, you can kind of figure out.
Yeah, it has to
It
be
was
huge.
the total was 1.2, I believe,
Mil?
million. Mhm.
So at this rate, you know, you're.
Was it
I think it was about
taxes we
10
weren't
years.
collecting or should have
No, I
been
think it was
assessing, or-
taxes that were collected that
didn't pay.
maybe they paid and they thought that it went to the city, and then they realized.
I think this
it
is an
shouldn't.
operating that we might do at a
It was
different
also,
time.
okay.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
I-
Thank
and
you,
I don't-
Vanessa.
I-
No, it's okay. We're not going to
It's
put you on
fine.
that spot. Thank you, hon.
I do have a question on the auditor services, 5636.
That is for our external auditor.
Yeah. Did this go out for
Yes.
RFQ? Because I've heard two different stories, that it didn't and
No, it did. It actually did. I don't know. I think it went out in October, and it was brought to council around October or November.
Okay. Okay.
And you can
Counsel?
check minutes or agendas if you'd like.
No other questions, council?
Just one other one on professional technical. Legal city attorney, I noticed that we adopted 180 for 2017. We revised it to 205,000. And for 2018, we are requesting 150. That's a considerable decrease. Is that, what is that for?
The city attorney.
Okay, so we're decreasing it from the 200?
That's what we agreed on
Thousand.
at the last meeting. Okay, any other questions, council? No? All right.
I just wanted to point out that we have a savings in our city attorney fee of 30,000.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I think we are done with general service. We want to cover multi-use quickly? Probably we can do it in 30 minutes. Since he's here, that way he can go back.
Okay.
We will try.
What page was it on?
Multi-use is page 151, and then we'll go over to 159. Okay. We're showing 20 employees. Is that stated correct? Yes? Page 159.
20 employees or 20 lifeguards?
Okay, let's.
18 lifeguards, 1 cashier, and 1 pool manager. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to point out that these are seasonal.
Or not, full-time?
Your pool manager is your only full-time?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. And what would we do during an off-season? Okay.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of operational questions here.
Should we wait?
I'm thinking we should,
Okay.
because I'm seeing that we have a cashier that's seasonal. I have questions
Well,
about what.
I'm seeing that we only have allotted 36,046, and that only covers a pool manager.
Mm-hmm.
And if we intend to keep it open the off-season, even if it's at a minimum, we are not budgeted for that,
Yeah,
correct?
there's a lot of questions here that
Okay.
may come up as operational and,
The salary, the 36,000 is just for your.
Pool manager, correct.
Other than,
Would they be under other other services? Or?
they're under seasonal wages.
they're what?
Seasonal wages.
Okay, but we're going to be discussing cashiers, full-time, not seasonal, who's going to, operating,
See, and at the time
certain
when we met,
things.
we just thought it was going to be just, like a seasonal.
just a seasonal, yeah.
Yeah, but I think we're
This
going to
is
have to prepare for
operation, yeah.
off-season too.
We have to.
That's what we need to, because we already have.
Did you all come up with anything for off-season? Or
Off-season as in,
As in swim meets and with the school, we haven't met with the school yet,
School.
right?
yeah, we're working with the AISD currently on a price to set for the swim meets and practices and things like that.
Correct.
What about the concession stand and who's going to operate that?
And we're in the talks for that as well.
What about lifeguards?
We're
Well,
still-
I think that would fall under 71,936.
They put them as seasonal.
It depends on how you define the seasons.
Right. Could be
you
off-season,
would
could be
need
in-season.
The 18 guards for
And
that
that's why I'm
off-season.
saying, there's a lot of questions here.
I did put some to begin in May. This was hard because I didn't.
It
know,
is.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
So what I did do is I did put about a handful to start in May,
Mm-hmm.
like in case y'all wanted to open in May to try and catch all those end of school year parties
Sure.
and things like that. So I did put some working from May to the end of September,
Mm-hmm.
like it's seasonal and it's considered part-time, but it would be at least your 30 hours.
Yeah,
each
but see,
week.
that's May. We're missing that high school
So
section,
Just-
right?
And I have
When is their season, Taylor? The school?
The
Isn't it
swim
like
season or
yes, swim?
It would end in like February, March.
You see.
But
So we're already out, so we would need to take into consideration employees for that amount of time, because then we're going back to square one, where we have to come back in May and start fresh again. I don't want to see that happen again. We need to be done
to
with
be ready
this.
to go.
Yeah,
and
because
in
then we're going
March.
back to hiring again and all of that, and we
And
can't.
my recommendation was to keep everybody on staff, that way you're not paying the price to send them
Correct.
back to
And you're
drug and
not
alcohol.
in this.
things like
Correct,
that.
because then we have to
Exactly.
start fresh with them and send them back to drug testing and
But you
do
can
all of
turn
the
in
hiring
0-hour
process.
timesheets for them, they're still on
Yeah.
staff. but
Correct.
They're not getting hours.
Correct.
So just,
And they're
Sure.
seasonal, so you're not
Just
paying the
let us
taxes
know
on them.
what you would like, and that way we can go work on that.
Yeah, Taylor, you want to explain that to her? Because I think you can explain it best, because that makes perfect sense. Because we don't need to
Yeah,
stop
I mean,
and
like,
start.
start in February, or is that what y'all were saying?
In February, some season in February, March, but until all that time, keep everybody on staff,
Oh,
turn
yes.
0-hour timesheets. For seasonal employees, you're not paying FICA, things like that for them.
Yeah.
That way you're not sending them back to drug and alcohol, new hire, physical, things like that.
But I mean, like,
Yeah.
You're saving
when do
money
you
there.
wanna, like the hours, so I know.
okay, whoa.
Yeah,
I-
like, when are they gonna be working?
you guys are talking back and forth over there. We're not picking
Oh,
you up on the
sorry. And
mic.
we can talk about it
Can you
later, I'm
come
sorry.
up here if you have questions, Vanessa?
Okay.
Because for clarification and for transparency, I'd like to put it out there to the public how we arrived at this budget, because there's been some questions out there about the council having come up with this budget. So I'd like to have an explanation as to how we arrived at these numbers.
Why don't we just,
But I would like to hear from Ms. Vanessa. How did we come up with this budget here, Mr. Ramos and Vanessa?
Well,
Because obviously there's a lot of things that we're going to have to address.
we were not, clear on how I guess the time frame that council wanted it open, and we were under the assumption that it was going to be a seasonal thing, or a seasonal, and maybe like the school would be using it during the off season. So that's how we prepared this budget, where it would open in May to try and get your end of the school year parties, things like that, graduation parties, and be open from May through the end of September, because that's our when our fiscal year ends.
So you looked at this budget from a seasonal standpoint, which is from May to October, or
The end of September.
end of September? Okay.
And
that's
we
how-
weren't sure how, or, this
So you
was
hadn't
just-
had any direction from,
It was just that with the voting last year that happened on the previous council, it's hard to base what our seasons
I
truly will be and things like
Correct.
that.
so you went from, based on
Based on
last
previous-
council?
yes.
So I guess what we need to do is decide right now so that we can already stop this. What are we doing with it? That way we can actually start working with it to make money.
fully
Or just bring in some revenue.
And that will help, because we didn't know how
Absolutely.
to.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
how to-
And we understand your
And
your
that sounds like a
confusion.
perfect, but I think, like Miss Moran is saying, it's gonna be an operational, and we should probably wait for
Yes.
Miss Diana, because it
Yeah.
will go into operational, because it
Okay.
hasn't gone into operational.
Exactly.
And this is why we're sitting here after how many years, still doing the same
Still
thing.
trying to, and then, here comes, May, and we're not set up and equipped to
Well,
go.
And that's why I put it so
Yeah.
that we could start in May, and it wouldn't be, there was a budget to start in May.
But usually we want to have our lifeguards ready to go in
Yeah,
in
that's what I'm
February,
saying.
March. We're
Right.
already getting our
Keep them
lifeguards
all
set
set
up.
up,
And
and
that's why.
Well, the cost
Yeah.
too is
Cost.
costing the city again, and possibly these
I think keep them on staff
90% of
training.
these kids will come back.
I understand you guys you needed some direction, so we totally understand that. But that's why I wanted to get clarification on how this budget came up.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay, so should we adjourn, recess for lunch, and then we'll start up after lunch so that we start fresh, and maybe if y'all want to, how about we give you a little extra time? We'll come back at 1:30. Would that suffice, or you want, because I know we have another meeting at 4, but all we have left is multi-use council, so if we come back at 1:30, that gives you a little bit of extra time to, because this is our main concern right now, is just not doing the same thing
And being in the
over
same
and over,
situation.
and we're in the same situation with another council, or we just, we want this to stop.
we want to learn.
Is that all right with y'all, Josh?
Yes, ma'am.
Will that,
previous-
will that work with
It's
you?
okay.
Taylor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then we're gonna go ahead and recess. Right now, the time is 12:09, to reconvene at 1:30. And we'll start, we'll take up with multi-use. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Let's leave this here.